love the channel and find it useful in becoming a happy retiree. Subscribe today. Jack, what's going on? How can I help?
I listen almost every week, and I enjoy your show.
God bless you, Jack. How can I help you?
Well, and I hear you speak of annuities. Generally, most weeks has a question, and of course, it's too late for me to buy one because I've already bought one 7 years ago. I've turned 65, but I'm not withdrawing any yet. I could draw 5% annually, monthly.
5% monthly on an annual basis, but 5% annualized on a monthly basis, right?
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
What kind of it is it in an IRA or outside?
It is in an IRA.
Okay.
And and it's just like you spoke of last week. It has two kind of balances. One is a kind of a cash value balance that I could get, or a guaranteed withdrawal balance, and they kind of control that cash value. It can go up and down.
I looked at a study there was a study of all the big annuity companies, and something like 92% of the time, the cash value that you have that you can get to is lower than the fictitious bucket of money. So that's just the way these things are designed. And part of it is because because your actual cash value has such high fees, it can never catch up to the promise that they give you in the fictitious bucket.
And that's the part I'm really concerned about. Once I start to draw money, and I don't need it now. I have a pension. My wife has a pension, and I know at 70 I'll be forced to.
Well, Jack, we very often talk about this variable annuity issue that people run into, where you've got a fictitious bucket of money that's supposedly guaranteed, but you can't get to the whole thing. You can just get to a portion of it every year, and then you get your own cash value. Jack, what do those two different buckets look like? What are the two different amounts inside of your annuity?
The cash value like $440,000, and the withdrawal balance $493,000.
All right, let me do some quick math here. If basically about 440 to 492. And this is over 7 years, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so that's not a big rate of return. So 440, if that's my present value, 492 is what I ended up with as my future value. And I did this over 7 years. What's my rate of return, Jack? The rate of return here is, and I'm going to compare this. Your rate of return is only 1.62%. All right, and that's the number you got to really look at to evaluate these annuities. I mean, you could have left money in a CD for that entire period of time, and it would be worth the same. And if I go back and see what the S&P 500 did since, and again, you've owned this for right at 7 years, right?
Yes.
September of 07, let's say, around?
September of 10.
I'm sorry, September of 2010. If I pull up a chart of the S&P 500, September of 2010, and I go to my timing, September 2010 to July 2017, 7 years, the S&P 500 is up 122%. And therein lies what I think is the biggest issue in these annuities. Now, on the surface, Jack, you're not in a bad position, because now what you can say is, in order to cash this thing out, and you told me it's in an IRA, right?
Correct.
So you can cash it out with no tax issues. It's going to stay in the IRA. You can get out of the annuity, leave the money in an IRA, not pay any taxes. Yes, the other thing you can do moving forward is you can take the 5% a year off of the 492, the higher amount, and that will give you about $24,000 a year, 24,600 to be exact. And what the annuity company says to you is that you can take that now as an income stream, and that is, quote, guaranteed forever.
Correct.
Okay. Even if the money runs out.
Correct.
So then I think what I would do here, I think there's two lessons here. One, the money's been there money's been invested in this annuity a long time. 7 years is a long time. It basically has barely grown. It's grown at about a 1.6% per annum clip, which is effectively the same as a money market. So it hasn't done much, but now at least on your 190,000, you can know that if you were to start taking 5% a year from it, and you're age 65, you can effectively do that forever. So now you can add $24,000 in income to your overall balance sheet. And I think that that's got a little bit of value in it. If you cash it out, the other thing you lose here is about $50,000 worth of death benefit or insurance, because if you were to pass away, your heirs would get the $492, not the $440, right?
That's correct.
Which also makes it a little tough to cash this in, because now you lose $50,000 in life insurance. And it's tough to get life insurance at 65.
Correct.
So provided did you say you obviously have Social Security, but you also have a pension?
Correct.
And how much do you have is this your main investment asset, or do you have some other accounts?
About half.
Okay. So I would look at it this way. At 65, I would look at this as your third income stream. So you have Social Security as 1, your pension is 2, this is number 3. And I'd use this, and I'd think of that less in terms of the $492 and more in terms of, well, it's about $24,600 a year for the rest of my life. And it has not been a good investment, and hence why I'm not a big fan of doing these annuities. You would have, even if you did half of the return of the S&P 500, let's say you had a balanced account inside of that, right? Even if you did you would have, the S&P's averaged about 15% or 16% since you bought this thing. Even if you did half of that, let's call it 7% a year, the money would have, so 72 divided by, let's call it 7%, it would take about 10 years to double. You would be significantly higher right now if you'd done a balanced investment account. Let me see what that number would be. So 440, I'm going to say you would be times 1.60. You'd have about $700,000 to be working with. That's the difference here.
Yes.
So it is a big, big difference. You can't make up for lost time, though. So I wouldn't try to catch up on this, but I would look at it and say, you know what? It probably, for your overall planning, it's probably a decent result, because planning isn't about maximization in every single area, or else we would never be risk adverse. It's about planning to what really works. And between social, your pension, and this another $24,600 a year, I bet you that does a pretty good job at taking care of all your expenses, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Then you're good. Then I think it's fine. And I would, again, this is not an annuity at this point. I would be bailing out of, because it to some extent it ensures your current need, and that's what financial planning, Jack, is all about.
Right.
So thank you for your call, and thanks for listening to Money Matters every Sunday.
Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. Hi, I'm Wes Moss, and thanks for taking a minute to hear about what's so different about my new book, You Can Retire Sooner Than You Think. So unlike other retirement books, this book will give you a step-by-step guide, whether you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, to learn from what these successful and happy retirees did to get there. I hope you enjoy the book, but more importantly, I know that it'll help you retire sooner than you think.